My phone buzzes against the desk, rattling the empty coffee mug beside my keyboard. 3 monitors surround me, each displaying a different security protocol simulation for Aurelius networks. I glance at the notification, expecting another client update. It's Colton. Family meeting Saturday. Mom needs surgery. Dad's memory getting worse. Urgent. The phone slips from my fingers, clattering onto the desk. Coffee splashes onto my worn jeans, but I barely notice the spreading stain. Willow Harbor. I haven't been back to our lakeside community in almost 2 years. The last gathering plays in my mind like a horror movie I can't stop watching. Dinner at the country club. Colton's firm handshakes with the mayor, Maris showing off her 3-carat diamond while her husband ordered another round of drinks. When are you going to get a real job, Pies? Colton had asked, his voice carrying across the table loud enough for neighboring diners to hear. This playing with computers thing was cute in college, but you're 30 now. Maris had patted my hand with practiced sympathy. Elliot knows someone at his firm who might hire you for their IT department. Benefits and everything. The heat of humiliation burns my cheeks even now, remembering how they dismissed Granite Key Cyber as playing with computers while Mom and Dad nodded along, concerned but resigned to my apparent failure. They don't know. 4 months since the acquisition and I never told them. The irony sits heavy in my chest. After leaving home with exactly $260 in my pocket at 23, I now have more money than I know what to do with. Yet here I sit in a rented 1-bedroom apartment, wearing yesterday's jeans, staring at a bank app showing an 8-figure balance. My fingers hover over the phone. I could call Colton back right now. I could tell him everything. But something stops me, the same stubborn pride that kept me working 18-hour days when everyone said I would fail. A gentle knock interrupts my thoughts. Noelle enters without waiting for my response, a manila envelope tucked under her arm. Her crisp white blouse and perfectly tailored slacks make my casual outfit look even more disheveled. Your 0.6% Aurelia stock vested today, she says, placing the envelope on my desk. That's another $11.2 million. Her voice remains professional, but her eyes search my face. Will you finally tell your family who you really are? I stand abruptly, coffee dripping from my jeans onto the industrial carpet. I'll go, but on my terms. The decision forms like concrete hardening. I reach for my phone and dial Colton's number, forcing my voice into deliberate neutrality when he picks up on the first ring. I got your text. I'll be there Saturday. Great, Colton says, his relief palpable through the phone. We need to discuss options for Mom and Dad. Everyone needs to contribute what they can. My jaw tightens. What facilities are you considering? Don't worry about that part, Pies. His dismissive tone stings more than it should after all these years. We've researched several places. Just show up and we'll figure out what you can handle. I end the call before saying something I'll regret. The stakes have never been clearer. This isn't just about my parents' care, but about my dignity and self-respect after years of dismissal. Noelle appears in the doorway again. I can have the corporate jet ready by Friday afternoon. No, I shake my head. That's not who they expect to see. I turn to my computer, booking a commercial flight to the regional airport nearest Willow Harbor. Then, almost as an afterthought, I send a text to Briggs, our security director. Need helicopter standby for Saturday afternoon, Willow Harbor area. His response is immediate. Understood. We'll coordinate landing permissions. Noelle watches me with a mixture of concern and approval. They've had control long enough, haven't they? I nod, feeling the power imbalance that has defined our family for years. They assume complete financial control of the situation, because they've never seen me as capable. That changes Saturday. An hour later, Noelle returns carrying a bundle of clothes, my worn Stanford hoodie with the faded logo, and a pair of jeans with a small tear at the knee. Your family costume, as requested, she says, laying them on the back of my chair. Her expression grows serious. You don't have to hide who you are anymore, you know. The vulnerability I've kept locked away threatens to surface. They've never seen me succeed. I'm not sure they can. My desk phone lights up. Briggs. Miss Bennett, the Haven Ridge estate papers are finalized, he reports. Camden Memory Care Initiative is ready whenever you need it. Thank you, Briggs. I hang up and meet Noelle's determined gaze. For the first time since receiving Colton's text, I feel something like anticipation. The thought forms clearly, bringing with it a strange sense of peace. Maybe it's time they met the real me. On Sunday, I arrive at the familiar two-story colonial, just as twilight settles over Willow Harbor. The rideshare driver pulls away, leaving me standing in the gravel driveway beside Colton's gleaming black Range Rover and a low-slung red sports car I assume belongs to Elliot, Maris's husband. My worn hoodie and faded jeans suddenly feel like a deliberate costume rather than comfortable travel clothes. The front door swings open before I reach it. Colton fills the doorframe, crisp button-down tucked into pressed khakis, designer watch catching the porch light. There she is. His voice booms across the yard. Finally decided to grace us with your presence. I force a smile and step into his one-armed hug, which feels more like a formality than affection. How was your flight? He asks, guiding me inside. Economy must have been packed this weekend. It was fine. I deliberately keep my response brief, already cataloging his assumptions. Of course I flew economy. Of course I couldn't afford better. The house smells like Mom's lemon chicken, a recipe unchanged in 30 years. The familiar scent twists something inside me, comfort and alienation braided together. Maris materializes from the living room, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless, despite it being nearly 8 in the evening. Her embrace is quick, perfunctory. You look comfortable, she says, eyeing my outfit. Very Silicon Valley casual. Before I can respond, she presses something into my palm. A gift card. I glance down. $120 to Nordstrom. For interview clothes, she explains, lowering her voice. Elliot mentioned an administrative position opening at his firm. Benefits and everything. Nothing fancy, but it would give you stability. The presumption lands like a slap. I've built and sold a company for nearly $65 million, and my sister is offering me charity for an entry-level job. Thanks. I manage, pocketing the card. Where are Mom and Dad? Kitchen, Colton answers, checking his phone. Dad's having one of his foggy evenings. Called me Stanley twice already. My stomach tightens. Stanley was Grandpa's name. Yeah, well. Colton shrugs. It's getting worse. Some days he's sharp as ever, others, not so much. Gah. The kitchen reveals my parents' decline more starkly than words could convey. Mom stands at the counter, leaning heavily on a walker I've never seen before. Her movements are cautious, pained. Dad sits at the table, gaze slightly unfocused, fingers tapping an erratic rhythm against his water glass. Paisley. Mom's face brightens when she sees me. She attempts to move toward me but winces. I cross to her instead, embracing her gently. Don't get up, Mom. I've got you. Dad looks at me with momentary confusion before recognition dawns. There's my computer, girl. My throat tightens. Hi, Dad. Dinner is a performance I've seen many times. Colton dominates the conversation, describing his latest deal at the renewable energy firm where he's CFO. Maris interjects with stories about her charity committee and Elliot's golf tournaments with clients. They speak with practiced animation, as if reading from scripts they've rehearsed for years. So, pies. Colton says during a lull, forking a piece of chicken. How's that startup thing going? Still, what was it? Computer security? Cybersecurity, I correct automatically. It's going well. She needs a real job, Maris tells Mom, as if I weren't sitting across from her. That's why I gave her the gift card. Elliot says first impressions matter in interviews. I take a deliberate sip of water, noting how no one questions this assessment of my career. Even Mom and Dad nod along, concern etched in their expressions. We've toured some facilities, Colton announces, changing the subject. For Mom and Dad, found 3 excellent options, all with memory care units. When did you do this? I ask, setting down my fork. Last month. Maris answers. Elliot and I took a long weekend. Colton flew in. And no one thought to include me? Colton laughs, the sound hollow. You were probably busy with your coding thing. Besides, we knew you couldn't take time off. Couldn't afford to, he means. Maris adds in a stage whisper to Elliot, who has remained largely silent throughout dinner. The realization crystallizes. They've been planning this for months. The family meeting wasn't a sudden response to Mom's surgery needs. It was the culmination of decisions already made, with me positioned as a minor participant expected to rubber stamp their choices. As dessert is served, Mom's apple pie, another unchanging tradition, I begin cataloging each dismissive comment, each condescending glance. Something shifts inside me. The hurt calcifies into analytical detachment. They need me to be unsuccessful to validate their choices. I watch Colton's laughter, slightly too loud when Dad makes a joke. I note Maris's subtle criticisms of acquaintances who've made unconventional life choices. I observe how Mom and Dad have accepted this hierarchy among their children as natural, immutable. Their concern masks control, not genuine care. The realization should hurt, but instead it clarifies everything. Every offer of help they've ever extended came with public reminders of my perceived failure. Every family gathering reinforced the narrative they needed to believe. My phone vibrates in my pocket. A text from Noelle. Remember who you really are. After dessert, Mom and Dad retreat to their bedroom, fatigue evident in their slow movements. I help Mom navigate the hallway, noticing how she braces against the wall when her walker catches on the carpet edge. We'll talk details tomorrow. Colton says once our parents are settled, 9 a.m. sharp. I've prepared a presentation on the facilities and cost breakdown. I've taken notes on each place, Maris adds. Lakeside Pines is my favorite. Very exclusive, excellent reputation. I nod, saying nothing. Later, after Maris and Elliot leave for their hotel, I find myself alone with Colton in the kitchen. He opens a beer, his third of the night, and something in his posture changes, a slackening of the carefully maintained facade. Jackson got the promotion, he says suddenly, staring at the bottle label. The one I was up for, 6 months of 80-hour weeks for nothing. I remain silent, letting him continue. 5th time, I've been passed over. He takes a long swallow. Not that you need to worry about things like that. The bitter edge in his voice surprises me. Seems like you're doing fine, Colton. New Range Rover. Dinners at lavish hotels. He laughs without humor. Yeah, well, appearances, right? That's what matters in my world. The confession hangs between us. For the first time, I glimpse what drives his desperate need to control the narrative, not just about me, but about himself. From the hallway, I hear Maris's voice as she returns from the hotel, supposedly for a forgotten purse. She's speaking to Elliot in hushed tones. What if she can't afford her share? We can't cover her portion. Not with the Bowman account in jeopardy. Elliot's murmured response is inaudible, but Maris continues, unaware of my presence around the corner. Colton's plan has her paying 12%. Even that might be too much for her. Maybe we should prepare to cover it temporarily, until she finds something stable. Their voices fade as she moves toward the living room. I slip upstairs to my childhood bedroom, unchanged since high school with its faded academic decathlon ribbons and computer science fair trophies. I call Noelle. Tomorrow's meeting will be worse, I tell her without preamble. Briggs is on standby with the helicopter, she responds. Just say when. I can hear her typing. Ever efficient. Camden Memory Care Initiative details are finalized. Haven Ridge Estate is ready. My phone buzzes with an incoming text. Briggs. Helipad surveyed and clear. Just give the word. I glance around the bedroom that contains relics of who I was but nothing of who I've become. From downstairs, I hear Maris and Elliot leaving again, car doors slamming. Colton's heavy footsteps pass my door, pausing briefly before continuing to the guest room. Tomorrow they'll present their plan, expecting my compliance. They'll assign me a token responsibility while maintaining control. They'll once again reinforce who they believe me to be. I text Briggs back. Stand by for 11:30 a.m. landing. Setting my phone on the nightstand, I stare at the ceiling, feeling a strange calm settle over me. They've never really seen me. I whisper into the darkness. Maybe it's time they did. The living room of my childhood home feels too small this morning. Glossy brochures cover the coffee table like autumn leaves, each showcasing smiling seniors in meticulously landscaped facilities. Colton stands before his laptop, connected to the television screen displaying a PowerPoint presentation with bullet points and financial projections. The title slide reads, Bennett Family Care Plan, and below that, Securing Our Parents' Future. My fingers curl around my coffee mug. Securing their future or controlling it? Mom shifts uncomfortably on the sofa, her eyes darting between the presentation and Dad, who stares at the carpet with resigned detachment. The tension in his shoulders tells me everything they've been steamrolled before I even arrived. As you can see, Colton continues, clicking to a slide with 3 upscale facilities. We've researched the top continuing care retirement communities in the region. Lakeside Pines offers the most comprehensive services. I notice Maris's planner open on the side table. A quick glance reveals handwritten notes about move-in dates 3 weeks from now. 3 weeks. They've already scheduled everything. We took Mom and Dad for tours last month, Maris adds, not meeting my eyes. They really liked the dining options at Lakeside. Dad looks up, confusion flickering across his face. We did? Remember, Dad? The place with the nice library, Maris prompts, her voice carrying the practiced patience of someone speaking to a child. I spot their medical files partially hidden under a brochure. The corner of Dad's neurologist report peeks out, stage 2 cognitive decline, not the occasional forgetfulness Colton described. Mom's hip condition requires more extensive surgery than they've admitted. The knowledge burns inside me. Haven Ridge's medical director had already analyzed these exact conditions, creating personalized care plans light years beyond what any institutional facility could provide. My solution isn't just better, it's transformative. I watch Colton advance through slides about amenities and activities, knowing they expect me to nod along, contribute my modest share, and disappear back to my struggling life. I say nothing, taking detailed notes as they continue their performance. Now for the financial breakdown, Colton announces, displaying a chart with 3 colored sections. Monthly costs at Lakeside Pines total $15,800 all-inclusive. Maris and Elliot will cover 36%. I'll handle 52%, and Paisley, he pauses, giving me what he believes is a generous smile. We've calculated your portion at 12%, which comes to about $1,896. Maris jumps in. But Colton and I discussed it, and we know things are tight for you. We can adjust your portion down to $600 monthly, and you can help out by visiting Mom and Dad more often instead. The condescension lands like a slap. They've planned everything, chosen the facility, calculated the costs, divided the responsibility, and graciously reduced my financial obligation while increasing my time commitment, all without once asking what I might contribute to the conversation. And if I had a different suggestion, the words leave my mouth before I can stop them. The resulting laughter makes my skin crawl. Unless you won the lottery, little sister, Colton chuckles. I think we've covered all the viable options. I stand, my heart hammering against my ribs. Excuse me a moment. Outside on the porch, morning sunlight filters through the maple tree Dad planted when I was born. I pull out my phone and call Noelle. It's time, I say quietly. Landing in 25 minutes. Briggs's voice crackles through the line. Copy. Waiting at Willow Harbor Airfield. Landing zone surveyed and clear. Departing in 10. When I return to the living room, Colton has moved on to discussing visiting schedules. I walk directly to my parents, kneeling before them so we're eye to eye. Mom, Dad, I say softly, what do you want for your care? The room falls silent. Colton stops mid-sentence, his mouth hanging open. Maris shifts uncomfortably, exchanging glances with her husband. Mom begins, then looks at Colton, as if seeking permission. They want what's best. Colton interrupts. That's what we're arranging. I'd like to hear it from them, I insist, keeping my eyes on my parents. Dad reaches for Mom's hand. We don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden, I assure them. But this is your life we're discussing. Your home, your care, your happiness. Something shifts in Mom's expression, a spark of autonomy long suppressed. I don't want to leave Willow Harbor, she admits. But we need more help than we can manage alone. Colton sighs dramatically. Paisley, we've been through all the options. There's nothing suitable in Willow Harbor that provides the level of care they need. I check my watch. 23 minutes have passed. Right on cue, the distant thump of helicopter blades cuts through the morning air. The sound grows louder, whipping the leaves outside into a frenzy. The old maple tree sways as if bowing to an approaching storm. Everyone freezes, conversations halted mid-sentence. What on earth? Maris hurries to the window, pulling back the curtain. Her husband follows, squinting at the sky. A sleek black helicopter with the Aurelius Networks logo emblazoned on its side descends onto the front lawn. Briggs sits in the cockpit, his posture military straight even from this distance. There must be some emergency at the Reynolds place, Maris says, turning to Colton with wide eyes. I stand slowly, smoothing the front of my faded Stanford hoodie. No emergency, I say calmly. That's my ride. 5 faces turn to me in perfect synchronization, expressions ranging from confusion to disbelief. The helicopter settles on the lawn, its blades slowing to a gentle rotation. Briggs steps out, adjusting his tie before walking to the passenger door. He looks toward the house and gives a short, professional nod. "What is happening right now?" Colton demands, his voice rising an octave. I move toward the front door, pausing with my hand on the knob. "I think we should continue this conversation somewhere else," I say, turning to face my stunned family. "There's something I'd like to show you." Briggs approaches the porch steps, standing at military attention. "Miss Bennett, your transportation is ready." For the first time in my adult life, I watch my siblings struggle for words. The power that has defined our family for decades shifts like tectonic plates, the ground beneath us trembling with the force of long overdue change. I hold the door open, gesturing toward the waiting helicopter. "Shall we?" The helicopter blades whip the air into a frenzy above Willow Harbor, the steady thrum creating a bubble of isolation perfect for clear thinking. I watch the landscape shrink below, the family home becoming a tiny dot surrounded by maple trees that had witnessed 20 years of diminishment. Now they witness my ascent, literal and figurative. "We have 40 minutes before landing at Haven Ridge," Noelle says, her tablet illuminated with the Camden Memory Care Initiative details. "The medical director is standing by for your final approval on the personalized care plans." I nod, the emotional high of the reveal already fading, replaced by cold objectivity. This isn't about the stunned expressions on my siblings' faces anymore. It's about what comes next. "Let's start with Dad's cognitive assessment reports," I say, taking the tablet. The neurologist recommended specialized memory exercises combined with routine stability. Lakeside Pines can't provide that level of personalization. We spend the next 15 minutes reviewing every detail of my parents' medical needs. Mom's mobility challenges, post-surgery, Dad's early-stage memory decline that follows a predictable pattern each evening. I compare these against what Lakeside Pines offers, identifying the critical gaps Colton and Maris never noticed. The Haven Ridge West Wing renovations are complete. Noelle continues, swiping to architectural renderings. 2 master suites, with adjoining but separate living spaces. The memory care protocols are implemented throughout the floor without looking institutional. I study the designs, mentally placing my parents in each space. This isn't about proving them wrong anymore. I tell Noelle, surprising myself with the realization. They'll be defensive, embarrassed. We need to focus on Mom and Dad's well-being, not on who was right. Noelle's eyes soften momentarily before returning to business. Dr. Westfield has prepared comparative assessments between standard care facilities and the Camden approach. The numbers speak for themselves: 26% slower cognitive decline rates in similar cases. "Have those ready," I instruct, turning my attention to the tablet again. Colton will attack the financials first. He needs to understand this isn't some temporary flex. The trust fund structure guarantees lifetime care, regardless of longevity or condition progression. The tablet pings with an incoming message from Briggs. "Estate is secured and staff briefed. Helipad clear for landing. Medical team assembled in East Wing conference room. Friend. NEC." I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of preparation settling around me like armor. "Tell the legal team to prepare. Healthcare power of attorney documents, joint authority, not individual." This isn't about taking control from my siblings. It's about ensuring my parents have options. Noelle nods, typing rapidly. "The memory care coordinator has created individualized engagement schedules based on your father's former professor routines. The physical therapists have designed a recovery program for your mother that maintains her dignity and independence." The helicopter banks gently toward the southwest, revealing the first glimpse of Haven Ridge Estate, 27 acres of manicured grounds surrounding a restored colonial mansion with modern medical facilities discreetly integrated into the East Wing. "We've gathered comprehensive analysis of Lakeside Pines' limitations," Noelle continues. "Their staff-to-resident ratio is 7-to-1 during daytime hours, 16-to-1 overnight. Haven Ridge maintains 3-to-1 at all hours." I process each detail methodically, building the case not for my superiority, but for my parents' optimal care. The personnel files show specialists in geriatric psychiatry, physical rehabilitation, and nutritional science all standing by to present their credentials to my family. My phone vibrates unexpectedly. "Dad." "Paisley, what's happening?" His voice carries the slight confusion that appears when he's upset. "Your brother is very upset." My stomach tightens. I hadn't considered the immediate aftermath of my dramatic exit my parents caught between warring children. The strategic preparation momentarily falters as emotion surges. Dad, I'm sorry about the tension, I say, keeping my voice steady. Today is about finding the best care for you and Mom, not about who's right. I promise everything will make sense soon. Your brother says you're being reckless with our future, he continues, his voice smaller than I remember. Are we going to be okay? The question lands like a physical blow. In all my planning, I'd focused on the siblings' reactions, not on how my parents would feel caught in the crossfire. You're going to be more than okay. I promise. I'm not fighting against them, Dad. I'm fighting for you and Mom. I end the call as Haven Ridge comes fully into view. The stakes have never been clearer, not just my parents' care or my siblings' recognition, but the potential healing or permanent fracturing of our family. We're beginning our descent, the pilot announces. I straighten my posture, focus returning. Make sure the medical director leads with the cognitive stabilization program, I tell Noelle. That's what Dad fears most, losing himself. As we descend toward the helipad, I realize the helicopter was just an opening move. The real victory won't come from humiliating my siblings, but from showing them a better way forward together. The helicopter descends toward Haven Ridge Estate, blades whipping the air into a frenzy. Through the window, I watch as 27 acres of manicured grounds come into view: gardens, walking paths, and what appears to be a small orchard stretching toward a lake in the distance. Is that a helipad? Mom asks, her voice barely audible over the engine noise. Licensed for medical transport, I answer as Briggs guides us toward a circular landing pad near the main house. The hospital is only 12 minutes away by air. Dad leans forward, his confusion momentarily replaced by wonder. That house must have 8 or 9 bedrooms. 9, I confirm, plus the east wing we renovated specifically for you and Mom. The helicopter touches down with a gentle bump. Briggs cuts the engine, and the blades begin their gradual deceleration above us. I watch my parents' faces as they take in the sprawling Georgian-style mansion with its brick facade and white columns. The estate had been on the market for nearly a year before I purchased it a foreclosure from a tech executive who'd overextended himself. Colton and Maris follow several paces behind as I help Mom and Dad from the helicopter. Their faces are masks of strained politeness, but their body language screams discomfort, arms folded, shoulders rigid, eyes darting everywhere except at me. A woman in a charcoal pantsuit approaches, her silver hair caught in the helicopter's dying backdraft. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, welcome to Haven Ridge. I'm Dr. Eleanor Wiseman, medical director of the Camden Memory Care Initiative. She shakes their hands warmly. We're honored to have you visit today. Dad brightens immediately. Doctor? You're a physician? Neurologist, specializing in memory disorders. Doctor. Wiseman answers. I've reviewed your file, Mr. Bennett. I believe we can implement several promising approaches to help stabilize your condition. While Dr. Wiseman engages my parents, a man in his 50s approaches with a tablet. Miss Bennett, the staff is prepared for the tour whenever you're ready. Chef Martinez has prepared lunch for 1 o'clock. Thank you, James. I turn to my family. This is James Holloway, our estate manager. He oversees everything from maintenance to meal planning. Mom's eyes widen. You have a full-time staff? Round the clock, James confirms. In addition to myself, we have 2 nurses, a physical therapist who visits 3 times weekly, a chef, and groundskeeping personnel. We enter through massive double doors into a foyer with a soaring ceiling and a grand staircase. Mom's hand grips mine tightly, her eyes taking in the space with undisguised awe. This way. I guide them toward the east wing. We've prepared this entire section with your needs in mind. The tour unfolds methodically, just as I'd planned. 2 master suites connected by a shared sitting room, a therapy room equipped with the latest rehabilitation equipment for Mom's hip recovery, a kitchen designed with accessibility features, a sunroom overlooking gardens specifically planted with Dad's favorite flowers. The smart home system can be programmed to give medication reminders. Dr. Wiseman explains as she demonstrates a touchscreen panel in the wall. It also monitors movement patterns to detect any potential falls or distress. My parents ask detailed questions, their interest growing with each room we visit. Dad runs his hand along a custom-built bookcase filled with his favorite mystery novels, arranged alphabetically by author. You remembered, he says softly. Of course I did. The lump in my throat makes it difficult to speak. Colton clears his throat behind us. This is just excessive, Paisley. Who's paying for all this? His voice carries that familiar edge of condescension, though now tinged with something new: uncertainty. Maris leans toward her husband, whispering loud enough for me to hear, "She's just showing off. This can't be sustainable." I notice my parents' expressions tighten at the escalating tension. Dr. Wiseman continues her presentation, seemingly oblivious to the family dynamics at play. The Camden Memory Care Initiative represents a new approach to aging in place, she explains. Rather than moving residents to an institutional setting, we bring comprehensive care to them in a familiar, comfortable environment. Dad looks between his children, discomfort evident on his face. Mom squeezes his hand, her eyes pleading for harmony. Noelle catches my eye from across the room, giving me a subtle nod. She's noticed the growing tension too. I face a decision point: address my siblings' skepticism directly, or maintain focus on my parents' needs. The confrontation is inevitable, but this moment should be about Mom and Dad, not our long-standing power struggle. Dr. Wiseman, I interject gently, could you show Mom and Dad the garden? I understand the horticultural therapist has been working on some sensory stations that might interest them. She picks up on my cue immediately. Of course. We've incorporated elements that stimulate memory through familiar scents and textures. Mrs. Bennett, you mentioned you enjoyed gardening? As Dr. Wiseman guides my parents toward the French doors leading to the garden, I turn to my siblings. Let's discuss the financial structure in the library. Just the siblings, I suggest, keeping my voice neutral. I think it's time we had a real conversation. Colton and Maris exchange glances before following me down a corridor to a wood-paneled library. Noelle brings up the rear, carrying a leather portfolio I recognize as containing all the documentation we'd prepared. The library doors close behind us with a soft click. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves line the walls, and a large mahogany table dominates the center of the room. I've arranged everything perfectly: financial records, trust documents, medical assessments, all organized in neat stacks. We're finally at the point of maximum readiness. Every preparation has been completed. The stage is set for the confrontation that's been brewing for years. Noelle takes a position near the door, her posture professional, but her eyes conveying quiet confidence. "You've done everything possible to make this work," she murmurs as she hands me the portfolio. I feel a strange calm settle over me. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about resolution, about finally breaking through years of misunderstanding and dismissal. Colton and Maris take seats across from me, their defensive postures telegraphing their unease. The moment stretches between us, taut with anticipation. I open the portfolio and meet their eyes directly. "There's something you need to understand about me. You can't possibly afford this," Colton says, gesturing toward the window where the estate stretches beyond. His voice carries that familiar tone, the one he's used since I was 12 and tried to join his science fair team. "What's really going on, Pace?" I reach for the tablet Noelle placed on the desk, but Maris cuts in before I can respond. "You're just trying to show us up with borrowed money or some tech bubble nonsense." Her manicured nails drum against her crossed arms. "This is about Mom and Dad, not your ego." The accusation lands like a slap. My fingers curl against the leather desktop. "Is that what you think this is?" I keep my voice level despite the heat rising in my chest. "A stunt?" "Your entire career has been a series of stunts," Colton says, his CFO voice in full deployment. "Parents need stability, not flash. Your history shows you can't commit long-term to anything." Maris nods, reinforcing his attack. "Remember your crypto phase? Your app idea? Your security, whatever? None lasted. Now suddenly you have a private helicopter and a mansion?" She laughs, the sound brittle. "What bank did you rob?" Their coordinated attempt to re-establish me as the unreliable child is so predictable I could have scripted it. What I hadn't scripted was the door opening behind me. "Why can't you children ever work together?" Mom's voice breaks through our standoff. She stands in the doorway, leaning on her cane, Dad beside her with confusion clouding his eyes. "What's happening?" Dad asks, looking between us. "Why is everyone angry?" The sight of their distress crystallizes everything. This isn't about Colton or Maris anymore. It's about Mom and Dad seeing the truth for the first time. I press my palm against the tablet, activating the screen. With a swipe, I send the display to the large monitor mounted on the library wall. $64.8 million. I say calmly. The acquisition announcement fills the screen. Granite Key Cyber's purchase by Aurelius Networks. My name and title prominently displayed. Paisley Gonzalez, founder and CEO. That's the acquisition price 4 months ago. I'm now Senior Vice President of Security Architecture at Aurelius, with a 0.6% stock position currently valued at approximately $34 million. Colton's mouth opens, then closes. Maris steps closer to the screen, squinting as if it might be a forgery. Shard Cloak was my patent. I continue, bringing up the patent documentation. It's now the security backbone for 16 Fortune 100 companies. Before that, we built custom security solutions for government contractors, banking institutions, and healthcare networks. I switched to bank statements, property deeds, foundation documents. Each slide reinforces what they're struggling to process: not just wealth, but sustained, strategic success. The Camden Memory Care Initiative isn't a vanity project. I explain, turning to my parents. It's a professionally managed foundation with a dedicated medical staff and administrative team. Everything here, the estate, the helicopter, the staff, is part of a comprehensive care solution that's been in development for the past year. Noelle steps forward from the corner where she's been silently observing, placing a folder on the desk. The trust documentation, as requested, she says. Lifetime care guaranteed. Dad approaches the screen slowly, his finger tracing the headline announcing the acquisition. This is real? He asks, his voice smaller than I've ever heard it. Yes, Dad, it's real. But you never said anything, Mom whispers. All this time. Because it wasn't about the money, I answer. It was about building something that mattered. The silence stretches as they process what they're seeing. Maris sinks into a leather chair, her perfect posture crumbling. Colton remains standing but looks as if someone has cut his strings. Dad turns from the screen, his eyes clearer than they've been all day. You did all this yourself? No one helped you? The question holds all the weight of our family history, the assumptions, the dismissals, the constant reminders of my perceived limitations. I had a team. I answer honestly, but yes, I built the company from nothing. Mom steps forward, tears tracking down her cheeks. We never understood what you were building, did we? Her recognition hits me harder than I expected. The anger that fueled me moments ago transforms into something more complex: grief for the support I never had, relief at finally being seen. Colton's face battles between pride and shame, the struggle visible in his clenched jaw and reddening ears. Maris stares at her hands, her wedding ring twisted anxiously around her finger. I never needed you to fund me, I say quietly, looking between my siblings. I needed you to believe in me. The truth hangs in the air between us, impossible to dismiss or diminish. For the first time in our adult lives, they're seeing me clearly, not as their struggling little sister, but as someone who succeeded on her own terms. This changes everything. Colton finally says, his voice rough. Not everything, I counter. Mom still needs surgery, Dad still needs memory care, you two still have your own lives and concerns. The difference is that now we can address those things honestly. I look at each of them in turn, my brilliant, flawed family, who defined me by their expectations for so long. It's time we talked honestly about who we really are, I say, pulling out chairs for my parents, all of us. The invitation settles like a challenge and a peace offering combined. After a moment, Colton nods and takes a seat. Maris follows, her movements hesitant but deliberate. The real conversation, the one we've needed for years, is finally about to begin. The living room of Haven Ridge Estate falls silent as we take our seats. No medical director, no estate manager, just family now. Mom settles into a plush armchair, her face etched with lines of worry. Dad sits beside her, his gaze sharper than it's been all day. Colton and Maris position themselves across from me, their faces a study in controlled chaos. Noelle stands near the doorway, a silent witness to what's about to unfold. I've lived below my means by choice, I say, into the silence. My voice remains steady despite the hammering in my chest. Not because I couldn't afford more. Colton's jaw tightens. You could have told us. When? I ask, leaning forward. When you were telling the country club I needed to get a real job? Or when Maris was handing me gift cards for interview clothes? The barb finds its mark. Maris flinches. I left home with $260, I continue. Built Granite Key from nothing. Worked 18-hour days while living in a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor. Not because I had to, but because every penny went back into the company. Mom's eyes fill with tears. We never understood. You never asked, I reply, gentler now. You saw what you expected to see. Dad clears his throat. We compared you kids constantly, he admits, voice rough with emotion. Measured success by titles, houses, cars. That was our failure, not yours. His words hang in the air like a confession. Something shifts in the room, a lifetime of assumptions cracking open. I hate half my life, Colton blurts suddenly. His perfect veneer crumbles as he buries his face in his hands. The board meetings, the networking events, the constant pressure. His shoulders shake. 50–60% of my so-called perfect life is just performance. Maris stares at him, then at me. Elliot and I have been in marriage counseling for 8 months, she whispers. Her carefully applied makeup can't hide the exhaustion beneath. Those empty galas you thought I loved? I'm drowning in them. Mom reaches for Dad's hand, her expression stricken as their children's carefully constructed facades collapse one by one. You worked harder than any of us, Noelle says from the doorway. All eyes turn to her. I've watched Paisley build everything from scratch, sleeping on office couches during development pushes, turning down acquisition offers that would have made her wealthy years ago, because the terms weren't right for her team. Colton looks at me with new eyes. I needed you to fail, he admits. His voice breaks on the last word. To validate my choices, to prove I took the right path. The truth of it hangs between us, raw and painful and necessary. How did you succeed while staying so normal? Maris asks, tears tracking silently down her cheeks. No mansion, no fleet of cars, no private island, just you. I consider my answer carefully. Success isn't what you own. It's building something that matters. We never saw what you were actually building, Mom says softly. We were too busy looking at what you weren't. Dad straightens in his chair, his memory issues momentarily clearing as he focuses with startling clarity. Your mother and I were wrong, Paisley. Dead wrong to measure success the way we did. His words hit me harder than I expected. After years of dismissal, hearing my father acknowledge his mistake fills a hollow space I'd learned to live with. This isn't about who was right, I say, surprised by the thickness in my throat. It's about what's right for all of us now. The silence that follows feels different, not tense, but contemplative. For the first time in years, maybe ever, we're seeing each other clearly. The Camden Initiative, Colton says finally. It's brilliant, comprehensive, better than anything we found. He meets my eyes directly. How can I help? The question catches me off guard. Not competition, not resentment, partnership. I want to volunteer with the memory care program, Maris adds, straightening. My event planning skills could create meaningful activities for the residents. Mom's shoulders visibly relax. The fear that her children would fight over their care dissolves in real time. This isn't my success. I tell them, meaning every word. The foundation will have all our names. Bennett Family Foundation. I look at each of them. Different strengths, one family. Noelle catches my eye across the room, a small smile playing at her lips. She's witnessed years of my frustration with these people, yet here we sit, finding our way back to each other. The library door opens. Briggs appears, formal as always. Dinner is prepared in the dining room, he announces. When you're ready. Dad rises first, more steady than he's been all day. Our children, he says to Mom with unmistakable pride, have finally found their way home. As we move toward the dining room, Colton falls into step beside me. The helicopter was impressive, he admits. Got our attention. I smile. But it wasn't what mattered. No, he agrees. The truth was what we needed. All of us. The helicopter brought them to Haven Ridge, but honesty brought us back to each other. I watch my family move ahead of me, Mom, leaning slightly on Dad, Maris with her arm linked through Colton's, and feel something settle inside me. The weight of being unseen, of proving my worth, lifts like morning fog. Noelle touches my arm. You did it, she says quietly. But what strikes me most isn't the victory of revelation, or even the acceptance of my success. It's the surprising discovery that beneath our carefully constructed roles, the responsible son, the social daughter, the struggling youngest, we were all hiding pieces of ourselves. All performing in some way. Come on, I say to Noelle, nodding toward my family. Let's join them. We step into the dining room, where Briggs has set the table with candles and fresh flowers. It's not the helicopter on the lawn or the estate's grandeur that holds power now, but the simple truth that lies between us that success without connection is the hollowest victory of all. The helicopter got their attention, the truth got their respect. But what healed us was finally laying down our armor and letting each other in. 6 months pass like water through my fingers. The estate's great room fills with afternoon sunlight as Mom walks carefully across the hardwood floor, her physical therapist hovering nearby but not interfering. Her hip surgery, the original catalyst for our family reckoning, has healed beautifully. Look at you go, Patricia. Noelle calls from the doorway carrying a tray of lemonade. You're practically dancing. Mom beams, her face relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in years. The doctor says I'm 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Dad looks up from his newspaper, eyes clear and present. Show them that twist move you've been practicing. Mom demonstrates a careful pivot, her silver hair catching the light. The memory care program has stabilized Dad's condition remarkably. He still has occasional foggy moments, but they're becoming rarer as the specialized care takes effect. Colton enters through the French doors from the garden, dirt smudged across his polo shirt. Gone are the pressed suits and polished loafers. He's been spending Thursdays and Fridays working with the sustainable landscaping team, developing a garden therapy program for memory care residents. The tomato plants are thriving, he announces, accepting a glass from Noelle. Dad, remember those heritage seeds you mentioned? I found a supplier. The easy conversation between them still surprises me. After Colton's dramatic exit from Hamilton Financial 6 weeks ago, he's been exploring environmental advocacy full-time. His former colleagues were shocked, but I recognized the liberation in his eyes immediately. Pay us. The Renewable Energy Coalition wants to partner with Camden's second location, he says, sitting beside me. Their marketing team is drafting the proposal now. The doorbell chimes, and Briggs ushers in Maris, her arms filled with art supplies. She's traded designer handbags for canvas totes, her therapy practice specializing in relationship communication taking off faster than any of us expected. Look what Patricia's memory residence created yesterday, she says, carefully placing a collaborative painting on the coffee table. We're calling it Remembered Gardens. Dad examines it closely, nodding appreciatively. Remarkable how the colors flow together, like separate lives finding common ground. I catch Maris's eye across the room. 6 months ago, she would have dismissed Dad's observation as sentimental. Now she smiles, genuinely moved by his insight. The weekly family dinner has become our new normal. Sometimes Elliot joins, sometimes not. Their marriage counseling continues, but Maris seems steadier on her own feet regardless of the outcome. My phone buzzes with a Camden Initiative update. Our third location breaks ground next month, transforming a forgotten medical building into a community-centered memory care facility. The waitlist already has 87 names. You've created something extraordinary, Noelle says quietly, taking the seat beside me. Her promotion to Camden Initiative Director was unanimous. My family insisted on it, recognizing her vision before I could even suggest it. Through the window, I spot the helicopter parked on the eastern lawn, no longer a dramatic symbol but a practical tool for moving between facilities. I haven't used it to make an entrance since that fateful Saturday 6 months ago. You know what gets me? Colton says, turning to face me directly. You had all this success, and instead of holding it over us, you built something for Mom and Dad that includes all of us. Maris sets down her glass. I spent years collecting the right friends, the right clothes, the right husband. You collected patents and solutions. The difference is your collection actually helps people. Mom crosses the room to squeeze my hand. When you landed that helicopter on our lawn, I thought you were finally getting back at us for all those years of doubt, but you weren't, were you? No, I answer truthfully. I just needed you to listen. Really listen for once. Dad joins us, his gait steady. Well, we're listening now, and we're proud of the woman you've become. The words I've waited decades to hear, yet they matter less than I expected. The true victory isn't in their recognition, but in our reconnection. Later, as sunset paints the estate gardens in amber light, Briggs approaches with a folder. Miss Bennett, your cousin Jessica's business proposal. You asked me to review it. Jessica, barely 23, with a sustainable fashion concept that's innovative but untested. Last year, the family would have discouraged her, pushed her towards something practical. Family meeting tomorrow to discuss funding options, I tell Briggs. Colton's already working on the business model, and Maris thinks her client network could generate initial sales. Noelle smiles knowingly. The Bennett Second Chance Grant? I nod as Dad approaches, overhearing. That's what we're calling the Family Foundation, supporting unconventional entrepreneurs who might otherwise be overlooked. His eyes meet mine. Starting with our niece. The 5 young business owners already funded through our foundation are thriving, each bringing something unique to their communities. I watch my family gathered in this space talking, planning, collaborating without the old hierarchy of value, and recognize the magnitude of what's changed. The helicopter got their attention, I murmur to Noelle, but honesty brought us home. She raises her glass in silent toast. The truth was always the best investment. And it was. In one dramatic day, everything changed not because I proved them wrong, but because I finally gave them the chance to be right.